Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Canon's top 5 budget lenses to get for a Canon camera. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to see a Sony version of this, make sure you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Guys, so first off, I'm going to be showing all full frame lenses. Main reason why is because you can put a full frame lens on a full frame camera or on a crop censored camera like a Rebel SL2 or Rebel SL3. Those cameras you can put both lenses on, either EF or EFS. Now, if you go strictly EFS, you will be able to get a lot cheaper lenses because it is crop sensor versus a full frame sensor. So with that in mind, this video will be going ahead and covering the EF lenses, but if you go ahead and do some research on EFS, or you want to see another video of me covering EFS, hit the like button and tell me down below. So first one we're going to be talking about today is going to go ahead and be the Canon EF 85mm f1.8 USM medium telephoto lens for Canon. So this is a very great lens, and first off, it is $329. So for that price tag, especially once you get into that 1.8 and lower, the price tag of that goes through the roof, especially once you get like 2.8 with other lenses. It gets into the thousands. Like for example, I just picked up a 70 to 200mm f2.8 and it cost me $1,700. Good example right there. But this is going to give you a great focal length for your portraits. It's also going to give you f1.8, so just beautiful, crisp photos. Background just blurred out, just going to look absolutely gorgeous. And again, for $329, not a bad deal. Now, I know a lot of people, especially when I first got into photography, I was like, oh my god, $329, that's a lot of money for a lens. But once you start realizing how much money lenses actually cost, it gets to a point where you're like, oh my god, $329, that's very cheap for a lens. Beside the point, if you go to Sony, it's completely beside the point. Sony, cheap lens for Sony is like $800. But that's going to be our number 5. Again, very good lens, very affordable, $329. And it gives you a great f-stop, and it also gives you a great 85mm. Next one we have right here is going to go ahead and be 17 to 40mm. And this is going to go ahead and be an f4, which if you are going ahead and taking pictures outside, if you do nature, if you do landscape, stuff like that, as long as you're not doing night photography and, you know, low light photography, this works perfectly fine for any situation. 17 to 40 gives you a good focal length of being able to get a completely wide open and a little bit more zoomed in, not quite to the 50mm that I know a lot of people love to do exactly for portraits. And obviously 17 gives you a landscape type view. Very good. It is $499, so a little bit on the more, I guess, less budgety as the other one we just saw and the one we're seeing next. But it's still a very great lens. And again, as you see, it's $799 marked down to $499. Don't fall for that. That's Amazon does that all the time. They always say, oh, this lens is on a deal. It's just because the manufacturer sells it for cheaper or another store sells it for cheaper and they're matching the price. But again, it's a very good lens. This is, again, an EF lens, so full frame censored, full frame cameras, definitely a monster lens. Next one we have here is going to be actually probably the cheapest one we'll be talking about, and that's going to go ahead and be the 50mm f1.8. Now, I personally have never used this lens. I have used the f1.4, which is the actual next upgrade to this lens, which is $300. But based on my experience of what I've been hearing, this lens is amazing. Compared to the Sony counterpart of this lens, Sony's version sucks and you never get it because the autofocus is awful. But this EF 50mm 1.8 is actually, according to a lot of people, is very great. And again, for $99, you cannot pretty much say no to this lens. It gives you f1.8, which again will blur out the background, give you nice crisp photos, and it also is also, again, $99, very cheap. It's actually on sale right now for $125, marked down to $99. But 50mm gives you great focal length for portraits. You can take pictures of nature. You can take pictures of pretty much anything. Obviously, I would not recommend vlogging with this lens. This lens is not meant for vlogging. You can if you, like, for example, if someone's holding a camera, but if you're trying to hold that thing up on like a selfie stick or something like that, it's just not going to work out for you. But it's still a very nice camera. Now the lens. Next one we have here is going to go ahead and be actually one that I actually did buy. So I actually did buy this one, and you saw I did also buy the other one. I bought the 17 to 40 millimeter. So two of these lenses on this list I actually did buy. And for example, the 17 to 40, I talked about before, I love the lens. I use it all the time. My go-to lens. This one was my go-to lens until I bought the f2.8, but still a very great lens at 70 to 200 millimeter. $549. And the thing is, this does not have IS. And the biggest thing about this lens is because it is such a big lens, for example, 70 to 200, IS image stabilization really is needed. Now, if you use it on a tripod, you're never gonna. That's not gonna be a fact. You don't ever have to worry if you use it on a tripod. I know a lot of people don't use it on a tripod, and that's why IS is needed. But again, as long as you're not filming in low light and you use a tripod, IS is not needed. If you want to get IS, I believe it's $1,000 for the next model up with IS. Now, the one thing this does not have, and the one downside, is it does not have weather sealing, rather than the other three types of this exact camera lens has weather sealing. So if you're going to take it out in the rain, you're going to be sadly disappointed when your brand new lens is broken. Nonetheless, though, we have our next one right here, and this is going to be the last one for the video, and that's going to go ahead and be the 40 millimeter fixed f2.8, and this costs you $129. And again, very cheap, great f-stop, great focal length, great for portraits, great for a little bit of, I don't want to say not really landscaping in any kind of way, unless you zoomed in, unless you really fall out. But overall, it's just a great portrait lens. 40 millimeter, again, f2.8 crisp photos, definitely very nice and low light. Overall, guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions on my list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which one would you add if you could add one to the list? Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next one. Peace out.